Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and today we are going to go ahead and install our pocket pages into our album. We are going to decorate the inside, front and back cover, and then also the outside front and back cover, as well as the spine. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So here's page 1, page 2. I'm going to slip it over the hinge here, and then I'm going to pull, once I have it slipped over, then I'm going to pull the backing of the tape off and press it into place. And I've done this on many videos, and if you watch my base 8.5 by 8.5 mini album, I go over this in a lot of detail. If this is not enough for you, go to the 8.5 by 8.5 mini album base build, and I go over a lot of details about how to build the pocket page, the album, how to cover it in great detail. And in that base album, I show you how to install the pages before they're decorated, which is another way you can do it. You can do it that way, or I decided later on to start decorating my pages before installing them. And I just found that there was a lot less wear and tear on the outside of the album. If you do it that way, you're not turning it upside down, opening and closing it 100 times while you're decorating the pages. And then I also asked people what their preference was, and people tend to want to build it this way. So that's when I started making my tutorials where I install the pages after they're decorated. So you'll see that I've done it both ways. Okay. And we're just looking at the pages laying down even, side to side, centered on the cover, and it is. So I'm going to go ahead and press it into place, and now we're going to get started on the next page. So here's page 2 and, I'm sorry, page 3 and 4. Page 3 and 4. We're going to slip it over the hinge and pull our backing off. It's not wanting to slip down. I might not have it in the actual pocket page. Sometimes I get behind, get behind a flap and not the actual pocket itself. There we go. And that's much better. Just trying to wiggle it into place. There we go. That was tough. I didn't want to slide down. Okay. And I'm just doing a test to see that the pages, sorry, I've got some hair stuck here. I don't know if it's mine or my dog's. See that the pages are lining up square, side to side. It looks pretty good. I'm going to lay it down this way and see how it's looking. Top to bottom looks good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, oops, I slipped right off the hinge. I'm going to go ahead and keep it flat and pull my tape backing off. Okay, and that looks nice. Top and bottom. Okay, so the next page is going to go here. I'm actually going to, I think, install this page and then this page, and so we'll go. We went from 1, 2, and now we'll do the last 4 and 3 in that order. Let's see how that looks. Sorry guys, it's not wanting to stay open for me. It's very snug. I might have to trim my corners, which I don't usually have to do. Well, that's just not going to go down. So I'm going to trim this little tab off and we'll try it in a minute. Hopefully that's just enough to do it. These scissors aren't strong enough. Let's try these. Sorry about that. These usually slip right on, so. And a lot of people trim their corners. I don't usually, but I will if I need to. And apparently that's what I needed to do because it went right back in now. Okay. Okay, I'm just laying it down both ways to make sure it's laying down flat and straight, and it is. So now I'll take my tape off and press it into place. It's really giving me a hard time. I don't think I've ever had this much trouble getting a hinge on. I have to start over. There we go. And then I need to double check that it's laying down flat before it grabs. There we go. Wow, that was tough. Okay, it's on straight. Hopefully the next one won't give me so much trouble. The last one. This page isn't very bulky, so it probably will go right on there. Yeah, it did. All right. Well, I'm having some coffee and that warmed me right up. So I need to take off my jacket. And that looks good. Well, that drifted a little on me. Let me see if I can't. It's gonna be tight. Gonna have to live with it. It's down pretty good. All right. Had a little bit of a page drift, which can happen. Okay, so there we go. There's our 4 pages. Okay, now that that's done, sorry, that was painful. Usually that goes very, very quickly for me. We have our papers trimmed out for the inside front and back cover. So this is what I've chosen. We're going to have a white and a blue pattern, and then we're going to use the stamp strip to go across the center to sort of pull this whole pattern together. I'm going to turn it on its side so I can see what I'm working with here. And I'm going to square off these edges to steer clear of the spine area. If your paper, if your designer paper gets into that score line, it will buckle your paper, so you need to make sure you steer clear of that. So I'm putting the ivory on the top. Can't be positive, but I'm pretty sure that's 12 by 12. And this is 12 by 12. Is that right? Yeah. That is right. Pretty much as a rule of thumb, anything on the outside or the inside covers is from the 12 by 12 collection. And the reason is the outside cover is 8.5 inches and the 8 by 8 collection pack won't cover it. So if you want it to have a consistent border, 16th inch border consistent with your pages, you have to go to the 12 by 12 collection pack. Otherwise, you would have a 1/4 inch border around around your inside covers, which to me is just a little bit too much black. And just so you know, these are 4 1/4 by 8 3/8. 4 1/4 by 8 3/8. That's not right. Yes, it is 8 3/8. That's right. And then the strip is just trimmed to fit. And I'm just going to lay it down. Yeah, it's this one. So I couldn't get just an even number of stamps, so it's actually going to trim one off. So the other alternative is to cut that and then center the stamps, and you have a slight exposure here, which looks okay too. In fact, I think I like it, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. Okay, now I'm going to ink these 2 edges, and then I'll just center the stamp right on top of that. And then we're going to repeat this process for the back. Okay. Okay, we're done. That's it for the inside front cover. And you could still, you know, put your photo here. Photo mats here and here, or one large photo mat. That's the nice thing about the 8.5 on the inside, is that's a large photo mat space. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the back. Start by laying down our blue piece. Okay, now we'll do the cream on top. Oh, you know what? I realize I've got a gap here, so that's not going to work. Shoot. So that means I can't trim my, well, I guess I can. I can do it, yeah. I didn't have a gap on the front one. I'll show you what I mean just a second. So I'm going to center this, and there's going to be a peak of black, and that's fine, but it's not going to match exactly the front because for whatever reason these weren't trimmed exactly the same, and I didn't realize that until I glued it down. It'll be okay. I'll probably be the only one who ever notices. Now if it was exposing cardstock, I wouldn't have trimmed it down, but it's just showing black and I'm fine with that. In fact, I think I like it better. So the other thing I can do is go back on the front one and just use a black marker and put a black line on either side of the stamp strip, and it'll look similar, more similar. All right. Okay, and so what I was talking about is I could put a black line here and here to mimic this look. And I think I probably will, but I don't actually happen to have a Sharpie in here. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So let's try it. There. Fixed. No one will know. Very similar now. Actually, I need to make my line a little fatter. That's pretty good, huh? It's just a Sharpie. Okay, I like it. I don't think anybody will notice the difference. We have it there, there, and here and here. Okay, so now our book is basically constructed. Now it's time to start working on the outside. So here's what I've designed for the cover. So I've chosen this, and this is from the 12 by 12 collection pack. And like I said, pretty much anything on the covers, inside and out, are from the 12 by 12 collection pack because we're trying to cover an 8.5 by 8.5 surface. So it looks like I need to trim this down just a little bit. And when I say a little bit, it was 8.5 by 8.5. I'm taking an 1/8 inch off height and width. So it'll be 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. Unless you like a larger border. I like mine pretty tight. I'm gonna get some ink on this and get this laid down. So this is gonna be our base for the cover. get some glue on here. Okay, I'm going to turn the edges towards me so I can see my two corners. And I'm going to start on the outside edge and work back toward the spine. Okay. All right, so here are the elements that I've chosen for the cover. So this is a 4x6 ephemera card backed on black cardstock. This is just a scrap, and that scrap is 5. It's a 4x5 scrap, and I've matted it with black. And then this is a 3x4 ephemera journaling card. And then this is one of the borders that's a cut apart. And then this is a flower. I believe it's 49 to market, and I'm going to add some additional flowers to the cover, but I just want to go over in the construction process the main element so that you guys can reproduce this if you want. So the last element for the cover from a paper perspective is this piece, which I'm going to add here. This is from the cut apart page of the 12x12 collection pack, and then everything has got bits of chipboard on it, and as you can see, I don't let any of my chipboard go to waste. So this large piece here has a single layer of chipboard, and then I've glued directly this blue piece down, and then I've double layered the chipboard on the outside edge because you've got a layer of chipboard that it's partially glued to as well, so it won't tip. So this is double layered here, single layered here, this is single layer chipboard here, and then this will have a single layer and it's going to fit on here somewhere. The last design element for major element on the cover is going to be this door plate with a knob, and I'll affix it to this. Some folks have asked me how do I apply my hardware, and I just use the art glitter glue and it holds up great. I've never had a piece of hardware fall off. You have to be patient because the glue does not want to dry against the metal because it's not absorbent at all, but it's never failed. And I've got some books, and I mean, I lug them around to craft retreats and stuff like that. So, I mean, they get handled quite a bit. So, like I said, I've never had any issues. You just have to be patient. So it's usually the last thing I do, set it aside, and then don't touch it until the next day. It doesn't take that long to dry, but I'll fuss around with it and knock it off if I don't just follow that rule for myself. Okay, and so the knob, I put it through one of the holes, and I just open the flanges, and that's how it's going to stay in place. And then I'm going to glue the back of this down, and that should be fine. And I'll most likely put a piece of tape on here so it doesn't spin around. Okay, so that's it. So we've got our main piece in. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? I'm going to set this aside for a second. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get the back on because we're going to need to work on it, so I don't really want it smashing my cover down. So this is what I chose for the back, and I just love this pattern, but it was too busy for the cover, so I'm going to use this for the back, and as you can see, it's a little bit short. And so I'm planning to use this as the spine, and I'm going to pull the spine around the edge of the back cover, but not the front, just the back. So first thing I need to do is trim this down to 8 3/8. And then I'm going to get some ink on it and we'll put it down. Yeah, looks good. Make sure we have the right orientation. So this is up. So again, I'm gonna put some glue on this and I'm gonna work from these corners back toward the spine. Take me just a minute to get some glue on here. 12 by 12 collection pack. Okay, so there's our cover, our back, we need a spine. I'm trying to decide if I want to wrap toward the front or not, and I'm not really liking that. I think it's too bright. So I am going to take a pause and I'm going to come up with something for the spine. Okay, while I was away, I selected this paper, which is from the Patterns and Solids, to use on my spine. And I'm going to give you the measurements. So I decided to use a 4-inch band, and it is 8 3/8 inches high. And the way I'm going to do this, which is unusual, usually if I wrap my spine, I wrap the front and the back. I'm not going to do that because I think it adds too striking of a blue color onto the front with the rest of my design. So I'm actually going to apply this to the spine like so, and then wrap around to the back only. So because I'm going to do it that way, I'm going to remove the tape backing from the tape that's going to lay down here first. And then I'm going to peel as I lay it down, going across the back. And I've done some of these wraps before, and I had seen this done by a crafter, and I'm pretty sure it's Kathy Orda, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me. She had figured out that if you slightly open the covers while you're laying down the wrap, it won't either have too much paper and it'll have enough paper and not crack. And I've had really good luck with it. So she's got some tutorials. I am pretty sure it's Kathy Orda on how she does that. But that's where I got this technique from. And I like the look of a wrapped spine. I think it's kind of pretty. not for everybody. It's a little more fussy as far as putting it in than just cutting a 2.5 inch strip to go on your spine. But it can make for some pretty interesting looks. Okay, now I've kind of got my book at a slant, and I would say right now the back, and I'll show it to you on the side. You can see how it's kind of in a bell shape. I'm going to open this up a little bit more. I want it at about a 30-degree angle, which is not easy to achieve because the pages actually stop you from doing that. Okay, so that looks about right. It's about 30 degrees. And now I'm just looking to line it up as best I can with the paper on the back side, which is the hardest part about it. Is having the wrap come around and meet the paper on the other side right on. It doesn't always come together as well as I'd like it to, but it looks like this is going to look pretty good. I've done better and I've done worse. So it looks like I could have torqued it just a little bit more this way. I always find that the cover is one of the most challenging parts because it's very easy for you to not have square chipboard. It's very easy to cut your chipboard and have it be just off square, and then that makes throws everything else off. Okay, so now I've got all my tape off. I'm gonna stand it back up and open it before I press it into place. Okay, and that's at about a 30-degree angle. Okay, so there's the back, so you can see it's wrapped nicely. And then on the front, it's still very solid. It's just solid. So I'm just going to burnish all this into place. The other trick that she had mentioned in her tutorial for this, or her walkthrough of this, is to use multiple strips, because as you're folding the paper, it allows it to stretch. Whereas if you have a solid piece of adhesive, like a 6x6 sheet, it can't do that. And that made sense to me, and so like I said, so far I've had really good luck with it. Okay, but that's also why you see a lot of designers use lace or fabric on their hinges. It's to cover any paper cracking, because it does happen. It does happen, and that's why I started using bookbinding tape on mine, because the black would crack. Okay, now we can start to work on getting this design in place. I'm going to tape this down before I forget. So it stops swiveling. I'm not ready to glue this into place yet, because like I said, once I do that, I really can't touch it for a while. But I do want to have it laid down here just for visually to see how I'm going to spread things. Okay. All right, I'm kind of liking that. I don't want my hinge to be too crowded. Yep, I like it. So now I'm going to carefully lift things and reapply them. And so I'm kind of looking visually, marking, so I can see I've got about 1 and maybe 1/4 of a shell, and up here about 1 1/2, so I know that's roughly where I want it, and my Make-A-Wish is going to come very close to the edge. Okay. I'm going to be very liberal on the glue because I want to be able to shift it around a little if I need to. So I want to have that time so I don't have to lift it off. And there's 2 layers of chipboard. I'm only putting glue on the second layer because this isn't even going to touch, but this will. And the chipboard, even though it's economical and I like it, I like chipboard better than foam dots because I don't like my embellishments to wiggle around. I want them to be very rigid, and this does the trick. And this is a trick I got from Ginger Rop. The famous Ginger Rop. Everybody knows who she is. If you're a mini maker, you know who she is. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to hold that in place, let it set. And now we're going to figure out what to do with this. And I think that's what I want right there. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to lay down my hardware. And then I'm going to do some additional embellishing with some more of these 49 Market flowers and either some twine or ribbon or something, I don't know. But I'm going to do that offline and I'll point that out in the walkthrough. Once I adhere this piece of hardware, that's pretty much what that's where we're going to wrap up for today. So I need to get something under here to hold it in place. I don't know what I'm going to use to hold it, keep it from falling back down on itself. Okay. I'm taking the tape backing off. I don't think it's actually going to touch, but the glue won't dry against that plastic, so I took it off in. So the other thing I'll probably do when I come back to do the rest of the embellishing is add something to plug those holes where normally you would have brads, but I'm not going to use brads. I'm going to put some sort of a flat back pearl or piece of hardware there. There's a little excess glue that I'm just taking off. And then I'm just trying to look and see if this looks pretty straight, nudging it over a little. And I'm going to use this to check and see if I've got kind of a, yeah, look at that. So that's straight on at 1/4 inch off the edge of the designer paper. Perfect. So that's it. So I'm going to call it for today. When I get back with you guys, I'll actually be doing the walkthrough and I'll cover the rest of the embellishments inside and out, as well as any of the photo mats that I create and put in the pockets inside. I'm going to call it a day, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and spending some time with us here at Scrap and Create. I'm going to call it a day, like I said. I'm going to shut this down, and I'm going to go find a clamp to hold that in place. Thanks, everybody. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. Have a good night.